Hey everyone, in this video I will be discussing the important decisions you make at the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 1. Nearly every time I am streaming the game, at least one person will ask either what the early game options do or what they should pick. The game itself does not really tell you much about your choices, but they definitely will greatly impact the way your game plays out for you. So the point of this video is to break down what the decisions will do to the gameplay. There really is no objectively best options to pick since it depends on your playstyle and goals. So now let's discuss the first major decision of a playthrough. I will be discussing this as if you are playing on Proud, since that is what these choices will have the biggest impact on. The first decisions you must make are choosing a weapon and giving up a weapon. This choice is important because what you choose and give up will change your overall stats and also your ability layout. So first I will go over the basics of choosing and dropping weapons. If you choose the sword, you gain more strength immediately. If you drop the sword, your strength is lowered immediately instead. Picking the shield obviously prioritizes defense stat, while dropping it lowers your defense stat as well. Lastly, the staff buffs your magic, while dropping it loses you AP, though your MP is not dropped extra if you lose staff. Quick note about staff buffing your magic is that it doesn't actually increase your magic, but it increases the amount of MP you start with and gain throughout the run, which is how KH1 determines how strong your magic is by how much MP you have. Same with summons. So now that you know what picking and dropping weapons affects for your stats, what about your abilities? Well, let's start with sword. If you choose this weapon, you start off with an early slide dash, scan, slapshot, and counterattack. You also get guard somewhat timely, as well as hurricane blast. Second chance is also earned at level 48, which is fairly early. The disadvantages though is that you miss out on early air combo pluses, and you don't get access to MP Rage and MP Haste fast. Leaf Bracer, which is also an incredibly strong ability in this game, is not learned until nearly level 70. You also do not get Lucky Strike until level 90, nor Jackpot until level 100, making synthing and money grinding more time consuming. On the plus side, you have access to early fast and strong ground combos and counters, as well as have a strong aerial finisher somewhat early, and you get second chance fairly early as well, letting you handle optional bosses without getting one-shotted if you're underleveled without arrow up. You also are just plain stronger as long as you're not super underleveled, which means early game you'll always do good damage. Next, we have Shield. This route gives you early Slapshot, Guard, as well as very early Lucky Strike and Leaf Bracer. Not only that, but you learn Second Chance incredibly early at level 36 and Jackpot not too late as well. On the other hand, you learn Hurricane Blast and Combo Pluses really late, as well as MP Haste and MP Rage. So while you will likely be unkillable mid-game with an early Second Chance and Leaf Bracer, keeping your MP will be more of a challenge, though you get an extra item slot to help with that. But this setup can be great if you intend to be underleveled on optional bosses or are really worried about dying in general. This route keeps you alive much easier. Last, we have Staff. Staff starts off a bit rough, but gives you early Scan, Hurricane Blast, and MP Haste. You also get a pretty early air combo plus. Guard and Leaf Bracer are also learned fairly early, along with MP Rage and another air combo plus shortly after. Lucky Strike as well comes at level 48. The downside to Staff route is that you learn most of your strong ground combo abilities very late. Worst of all, you learn Second Chance all the way at level 90, which means if you fight optional bosses underleveled without arrow, you get one-shotted. However, Staff route gives the most MP, which means this is the only weapon to achieve highest MP count and strongest magic possible. Also, Leaf Bracer with more MP is incredibly abusable with constant curing. You will have a harder time early game with Staff, but if you stick with it, the payoff is pretty strong. Now that I described all weapon choices, it's time to discuss the final set of options you are given. These are of course the questions you are asked by Tidus, Wakka, and Selphie. The game doesn't help you too much, but you are really choosing your EXP leveling route by answering these questions. There are 3 EXP routes: Dawn, Midday, and Evening. If you pick Dawn, your EXP gain early on is very fast, but slows down significantly after around level 37. Midday takes over where Dawn would stop and lasts only until level 40. Then Night takes over for the rest, which cuts down on having to grind to level 100. Each top answer is Dawn, each middle answer is Midday, and each bottom answer is Night. Picking 2 out of 3 of one route selects that route. So now the question is, which route should you choose? Well, similar to Dream Weapons, it depends on what your playstyle and goals are of the playthrough. For Dawn route, being able to level up fast early will make beginning game much easier on you, which could be very beneficial for the early hard fights such as Clayton, Agrabah, and Halloween Town bosses. However, you would likely make late mid-game and endgame much harder as well as all optional stuff. Dawn benefits run out pretty fast in the playthrough, where the game only really gets harder and will be useless for optional bosses. Next, you have Midday Route. This route will greatly benefit you mid-game, obviously, and that could also mean it will help during Hollow Bastion, which has some pretty challenging fights, as well as Neverland and even some of End of the World, if you're underleveled as is. However, it won't really help you on optional boss setups. On the other hand, if you pick Midday Route, you level up consistently throughout the playthrough so that it's balanced. Lastly, we have Night Route. This route gives you a harder early and mid-game, but allows you to end strong with fast level gains, and gives you the ability to take on optional bosses earlier by level grinding for them faster. The even better benefit of Night Route is that it takes overall less EXP to hit level 100 than the other two routes, so if you care about hitting max level, then this route is likely for you. So here's a summary of levels. Dawn makes early game when you're limited on options much easier, but hurts you past level 37 pretty hard. Midday is great for balanced leveling, but it will make late to end game harder, including optional bosses. Night Route makes early and mid game very difficult, but lets you grind easier for optional bosses and hit the level cap far faster. With all this said, which is the best routes for both weapons and leveling? Well, for me personally, I always go Staff and Night Route, but that's also because I enjoy having that extra MP you cannot get with any other weapon, and it allows me to hit level 100 far faster. It also causes me to have much more difficult optional boss fights where I require Arrow to be up constantly to avoid getting one hit killed if underleveled, but I enjoy that challenge as well. But for you, well, consider how much of the game you intend to play, such as optional bosses or hitting level 100, and also consider if you rather have harder earlier, mid-game, or late game. Then try to determine if you're going to make use of the extra MP from Staff, or if you rather just be plain physically stronger or more defensive to make your decision. Anyway, that's all for this video. Hope I helped answer some of the confusion over these options. Remember that any route for both weapons and leveling works fine. All you're truly doing is swapping difficulty to different parts of the game. Thanks for watching.